I think the Dallas Cowboys deserve a lot of credit, actually. No one's giving them credit. I know right now everyone's piling on. As time goes on, though, we'll realize and learn that we actually need to give them some credit for what went on this past week. A weird week, coming off of a huge week 1 win. They blow out fashion. Everybody's starting to get their hopes up a little bit. The Dallas Cowboys deserve a ton of credit for looking their fans square in the eye and telling them, hey, guys, don't worry, right? I know most of you weren't invested at all entering this season. It's anecdotal, but I grew up in Dallas. I live in Dallas. My friends, pretty much all of them, born and raised in Dallas, Texas, diehard Cowboys fans. Anecdotally, nobody gave a flying fuck about this team entering the season. Nobody expects anything but disappointment from this team entering the season. That's the way it should always be, right? Week 1 didn't really fool me, but, it kind of got some people back into it, blowing out the Browns on the road. They were underdogs. The Cowboys were entering that game. So, people are starting to get a little bit invested. The Cowboys, to their credit, and they deserve a lot of props. I'm telling you guys, they really do. They enter this game as 6.5-point favorites. I mean, that's a big spread, big time favorites. They look their fans in the eye and say, guys, don't worry, we suck this year again. Everything that you expected to happen to this team before the start of the season will in fact happen. So don't worry about it, guys. Don't get your hopes up. Don't think anything special is going to happen. Just rip off the Band-Aid immediately. So for that, I think thank you, boys. Good work, guys. Hey, good job. Let's just start with the utmost embarrassing part of it all, and what is an embarrassing fact of life when you're Dallas Cowboys fans. I have friends in my life who are Saints fans, just, proximity to Louisiana, a good amount of, I have a couple lifelong friends who moved to the Dallas area when Hurricane Katrina happened all the way back in 2004. I'm sure many people are like that. Huge Saints fans. They go to the game. They tell me it's 60-70% Saints fans. I don't know if they're exaggerating. You watch it on TV, it sounds like it. It sounds like half the fucking stadium is Saints fans. Do you know how embarrassing this is? This is the biggest franchise in sports, okay? This isn't just a middling team. This is the biggest franchise in world sports. Number 1. Every single Saudi fund, soccer team, it doesn't matter. The Cowboys are number 1. They live in a state where the only thing people give a shit about here is guns and football, okay? That's it. How on earth do you constantly get home crowds like this? It's so embarrassing. It is the most embarrassing thing I can think of. I'm trying to think of a good comparison for people who might not watch American football, really. Like, imagine if Arsenal, or imagine if Man City, or imagine if any of the big soccer teams, Real Madrid, whoever, if like half of their home games was like 50-60% the away team's crowd. Cowboys are nowhere near Real Madrid. Yes, they are the most valuable sports franchise in the world, hands down. Okay, they just are. I know, like that's just the truth. That's numbers. That's facts. Okay. Imagine that. It's the Saints. This isn't anytime the 49ers come into town, 50-60% 49ers fans. Anytime the Packers are in town, 40-50% Packers fans. How does this happen? It's embarrassing. And I'll tell you why it happens. Because the Arlington, the stadium's in the middle of fucking Arlington, Texas. The biggest shithole city in the world. It's a shithole, folks. It actually is a shithole. It's impossible to get to, and it's a disgusting place. No one wants to be there. It's impossible to get to for 90% of the Metroplex. And then anytime someone says, well, it's not that hard to get to. Where do you live? Oh, I live 5 minutes outside Arlington. All right, shut up. Shut up. It is an impossible place to get to, and it's disgusting. Get that stadium out of there. So no one wants to go, right? If you live 30 or more minutes away from Arlington, no chance you're going. It's such a, if you don't live in the DFW Metroplex, it's hard to even describe how actually difficult it is to get into Arlington, especially on like a Sunday when the Cowboys are playing and there's just absurd traffic. It's impossible. Well, why don't you take a train? You think there's a fucking train? Why don't you take the bus? You think there's a bus? Why don't you take the metro? You think there's a metro? There's none of that shit. We went one time. I went to a Monday Night Football game a couple years ago. The Uber home for our group of friends, and we had no other choice. We were stranded. in the middle of Arlington. We had to get it. We thought we could Uber. The Uber home was $400. $400. This franchise doesn't give a shit about you at all. They don't care. They only care about making money. They do not care about you. They do not care about the product on the field because the product on the field is terrible. This team right here, they showed you who they are. They showed you who they are. Any team that plays like the Saints, any team, look, I'm not a football guy, X and O guy at all. But people, the Kyle Shanahan system, the Saints got a dude who runs the Shanahan system. They shit all over the Cowboys. The Cowboys can't do anything to stop it. Nothing. Alvin Kamara is 48 years old. Okay? 48 years old. 20 carries for 115 yards. Derek Carr has been casted away a million times and forgotten about, it feels like, across NFL circles. Diced up the Cowboys yesterday. Defense is terrible. Where's Micah Parsons? He's a ghost. He could be one of the most overrated players I can ever remember. Okay, I don't care about all of these advanced stats. I don't care about double team percentages. I don't care about any of this. I watch other teams play. I watch TJ Watt. I watch Myles Garrett at his peak. I watched Aaron Donald at his peak. They wreck games. They destroy games. Destroy them. I mean, like, it feels like the entirety of the game, like the entire pace and flow of the game is completely wrecked by these guys. When do you feel that with Micah Parsons? Ever. When do you feel it? When? Name one big Micah Parsons moment. Name one big Micah Parsons moment in his career. On like a big stage, big game, big against a good opponent. I don't even know if the Saints are good. Playoff moment. Name one. But they're going to pay him $50 million, though. Going to pay him $30, $40, $50 million. He got schemed out by good play calling. Feels like it happens a lot, huh? Just feels like it does. This is supposed to be the best defensive player in the NFL. Like, that's what people say. You got CeeDee Lamb, who's one of the best non-quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, he was good. He's it, though. Who else is here? Jalen Tolbert, okay? Luke Schoonmaker. All right, Jake Ferguson was hurt. Fine. Rico Dowdle, Brandon Cooks, who's 38 years old. Jalen Brooks. Who is that? They threw a big fourth down conversion to Brevin Spanford. Brevin Spanford. The run game is a joke. They just decided in the offseason we don't need a running back. There's a difference between like treating the running back position kind of like the center position in basketball where it's we can kind of find some guys. Granted, that's not becoming the case anymore in the NBA, but there was a span like in the late 2010s where it was like just find a guy off the street to play center. And they went like the Mavericks route where they took it to an absolute extreme. Where it's like, yeah, we don't really value that position that much, so we're just going to throw out guys. I mean, we're just going to throw guys out there. Rico Dowdle, is he good? No. Has he ever been good? No. We're going to throw him out there. Ezekiel Elliott, is he 45 years old? Yes, he is. Just throw his ass out there. Throw Grandpa Zeke out there. Look how fun it is to watch him run around. Isn't it like nostalgia? Remember when things were good? Like, that's how the Cowboys operate. Remember when times were fun and, like, Dak's rookie year with Zeke, how fun that was? That one, like, fleeting moment of happiness and hope. Remember that? Throw that out there so we remind them all. Deuce Vaughn. So Deuce Vaughn is like this fun, he's 4'8", is this fun like Darren Sproles type player where if you're running, if your like run game looks good, you throw Deuce Vaughn out there to catch, some screens and do some interesting run plays, like a scat back to like shake up the defense and make them think and question things. They run his small ass out there to run fucking halfback dives for 2 yards a gain. I'm sitting there with my jaw on the floor. This team's bad. They're not like we already know the blueprint is there. They'll win 10 or 11 games, guys. They will. They will win 10 or 11 games. They'll make the playoffs. But it's the blueprint is there. The map for the remainder of this season is there. The moment they play a team that can run the football like this, it's over. The moment you can tell right away with the Cowboys, you can tell the moment the game starts within the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes of game time. If the first 5 to 10 plays do not go the Cowboys' way, the game is over. It is done. It is done. They can't come back. You just know it. There's no dogs on this fucking team or in this organization. It's a cultural thing. And next week they're going up against the 0-2 Ravens, who desperately need to win. They're a step behind always. Like all of these teams are going towards these young offensive coordinators from the Shanahan system, or these hotshot defensive-minded coaches who are gonna, have these new and interesting wrinkles on things, and they're gonna lead their defense or offense. We got Mike McCarthy, who's been around since 1987. All right, we bring in Mike Zimmer, who's been around since 1912. Like, it's just holy shit, man. And inevitably, Jerry will catch on because Mike McCarthy's ass will be gone after the season. They'll bring in some other old geezer like Sean Payton, who hasn't worked out in 6 or 7 years. Bring him in, right? It won't work inevitably. And then 2-3 years from then, so 5 years from now, then they'll be like, okay, we need to bring in a Kyle Shanahan-like coach. And then that system will be gone, though. That system will be outdated, and there will be a new system that every team is following. But the Cowboys will be 7 or 8 years behind the rest of the league. That's how they operate. Dak Prescott will be on his 4th record-setting contract by that point. The Cowboys will have spent $0 in free agency. No team spends less money than the Dallas Cowboys, which is just hilarious. Just a hilarious statement to make. It's just... I know I just went on a 12-minute rant, so it's hard to say. I don't really care anymore, but I really don't. I mean, I'm just... It's just funny to me more than anything else. Dak Prescott's making $60 million a year. I see that, Dak's a great guy. Don't think he played terribly. Like, yesterday wasn't necessarily his fault, but he wasn't good. Like, he wasn't good yesterday. You're paying him $60 million. He's the highest paid player in the history of the sport right now. Well, good's not good enough. It just isn't. It's not. There's so many stats that go, if you pay a quarterback X amount of dollars, it's next to impossible to win unless that quarterback is great. People don't demand greatness out of Dak. They've like, I don't know if they've just came to the point where it's like, we don't expect that, so we're never going to ask for it, or what the case may be. Man, he's making $60 million, dude. And again, I'm not blaming yesterday on him, but he wasn't good week 1 either. He was not good in week 1. The Cowboys offense was not good in week 1. I don't know. The reason why, like, I feel upset about this one is this feels like the end of the season. Like, this feels like an end of season loss. Why do I say that? Because, okay, well, this is who they are. Again, that maybe, just maybe, you do hold out hope. I'm never one of those, this is our year, guys. But you do hold out hope early in the season. Maybe they're doing something different. Okay, week 2, we realize they're not doing anything different. This is who they are. Got it. Interesting. Sweet. Can't wait. We deserve better, man. We do. We deserve better. It's like paying Tyrese Halliburton the highest paid contract in NBA history. I mean, the thing is like Dak is fine, right? He's a top 5 quarterback, top 7 quarterback. You squint, maybe there's a top 3 quarterback season here or there. Never going to be the best quarterback. Probably will never be the second best quarterback. He's just fine. And we handle him with kids' gloves now. I don't know why that is. There's been a course correction. It's been overcorrected. Where, yes, there was a time when Dak got unfair amount of criticism, right? And now it's kind of like shifted towards, now nobody really criticizes him. I'm talking like Dallas fans, like Dallas media people. Now it's like, you can't criticize him. How can you blame him ever for anything? Well, he wasn't good yesterday. He wasn't good against the Packers in the playoffs last year. I don't give a fuck what the stats said. He put the nail in the coffin in that game early by playing like shit. Just got to expect more out of these guys. You're going to pay them. You're going to make Micah Parsons probably the highest paid non-quarterback ever, or whatever the case may be. Can you wreck games like other great defensive linemen we see? a fine quarterback being top 5 is kind of insane. No, how awful are quarterbacks right now? Oh, the quarterback position is in dire straits in the NFL. I don't know what it is. I don't know what is going on. I don't know what the reasoning is. I don't know if we're just in like a weird era with the talent and it'll all fix itself in due time. But it's bad.